Hello, everyone, and welcome to December's virtual planetarium. And as usual, we are going to start with the inner solar system and the planet Mercury, which is quite bright at around magnitude minus zero point 0.7 in the first week of December. But the apparent distance from the sun is decreasing, so it's pretty soon going to be lost in the pre-sunrise sky.
Yeah, it reaches superior conjunction on the 20th of December, and its late December reappearance into the evening twilight isn't particularly favourable, so it's right at the beginning of the month for Mercury, really. Venus is a prominent, albeit low planet in the dawn twilight throughout December. It rises 2 hours and 40 minutes before the sun at the start of the month, and as usual is shining really bright at magnitude minus 3.9. But it's a long way off at the moment, isn't it? And it's showing us sort of quite a small, well-illuminated disk.
Yes, this is the problem. Venus is on its far side of the orbit, so it's quite a distance from us to Venus. It reaches superior conjunction next year, so it's not going to be terribly good from a telescopic point of view. The disk size is very small. That said, observations of Venus when it's in this phase are actually very small. Most people only image or observe it when it's sort of a little bit gibbous or half or a crescent.
Yeah.
So it's really worth making observations of Venus at this point because not many people will be doing it.
No, okay. Well, a thin moon sits close to Venus on the mornings of the 12th and 13th of December, and the moon will be showing a phase of 7% on the 12th and 2% on the 13th. So that's quite nice if you're looking at it with the naked eye. It's always quite a stirring view, isn't it?
It is. It's really quite a lovely sight. It requires no special equipment at all and is very, very pretty to look at. Now, Mars continues to be good. Of course, we're well past opposition now. Opposition was mid-October. So the planet is moving away from us. It's getting smaller and fainter. But it's still pretty good, I think. And if you've got an 8-inch telescope or larger, you can still see quite a bit of surface detail and the bright clouds which are on the morning and evening limb. So still worth observing, I think.
Yeah, we've had some good bright clouds over recent weeks, and they do stand out extremely well indeed, especially if you're visually with a bluish filter and also imaging with a blue filter. That's how you sort of make them stand out pretty well there.
Yes, and I'm quite pleased, Pete, that we've both recorded clouds at the same time whilst you've been imaging and I've been observing. We've got drawings and images which show clouds in the same sort of position, so that's always a nice confirmation.
Yep, they're either really there or we're both making it up at the same time. Okay, well, Mars currently lies in Pisces, and at the beginning of December it's really bright still. It's shining at mag minus 1.1, which is pretty good. And by the end of the month, its brightness will have dropped a bit, though. It'll go down to about magnitude minus 0.2, but still in minus figures, so that's good.
Yes, so still a good target and well worth observing, as I said, because we've got all sorts of seasonal phenomena that both of us have covered in the magazine that observers should continue to watch out for. Now, moving beyond into the outer solar system, the planet Jupiter. Jupiter and Saturn reached their historic great conjunction on the 21st of December. They'll be very, very close to each other in the sky. Do you remember, when is the last time this great conjunction occurred, Pete? Do you recall?
Oh, crikey, that's a good question. I don't recall them being really, really close together, and I certainly wasn't around in 1623, if that's what you're insinuating. But you've really got to treat them from a descriptive point of view at the moment as a single entity, because through a telescope, to be frank, they're a bit rubbish because they're quite low down. But this great conjunction will have them, it's about 6 arc minutes apart, which is pretty close. And that should allow you, with the correct magnification, correct image scale, to actually be able to see both planets or image both planets as disks in the same field of view, which is quite exciting, actually.
It is. It's quite remarkable. Unfortunately, the planets are so low down, Jupiter and Saturn are so low down, I don't think I'll get them at the same time, but I'll get a try. But it will be quite interesting to see what I'm interested in is comparing the colours of them and the brightnesses to see what they look like, and this will be a good time to do that.
Okay, well, as December plays out, then you'll see from the beginning of December to the 21st, you'll see the planets coming together. So don't worry if it's clouded out on the 21st. I know it's nice to have that really close conjunction, but you will have plenty of time to see them really close together as well. And there's a slender waxing crescent moon on the scene as well on the 16th. And that'll be a 5% lit waxing crescent moon southwest of Jupiter. And then on the 17th, the evening after, it'll appear as an 11% lit crescent to the southeast of Jupiter. So that'll add a little bit of spice to the scene, because a lot of people are going to be trying to take photographs of both planets together.
Yeah, so it'll be nice to, at least we've got a few days of which to get the conjunction. It's not all dependent on one particular evening, because for some reason, winter evenings are notoriously cloudy.
And autumn and summer and spring.
Yes, that's right. But we'll hope for the best. All right, let's move on to the ice giants then, Uranus and Neptune. Uranus is well positioned for most of the month, for all of December. It's currently in Aries, so in the southern part of the skies, but it does get a really good altitude. Of all the planets in the solar system, Uranus is the best one from altitude point of view, 50 degrees from the UK, so that's particularly good. It shines at magnitude 5.7, but yeah, that is technically naked eye territory, but realistically, I think you'll need binoculars to see it.
I think I'm right in saying that Mars is going to exceed Uranus's altitude, because as it's getting smaller, it will gradually creep further north in the sky. So it will.
It will. I think you're right. I think it will. I think it will eventually get higher than Uranus.
And it'll take away the crown of Uranus being the UK's best placed planet, which is actually quite a good thing.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing, absolutely. Finally, then, the outermost planet, Neptune, is still an evening object. It reached opposition on the 11th of September, and so now is an early evening object. Fairly easy to spot in binoculars. This isn't a naked eye object, and a telescope will show it's a small bluish disk.
Yes.
But not much else.
No, that's right, which is a bit of a pity, but it's quite close to the star Phi Aquarii. I think that's mag plus 4.2 from memory. And there's a little pattern just off to the east of Phi, which I think, if you include Phi, there's magnitude 5.5, 96 Aquarii, and magnitude plus 6.2, HIP 115257, that trips off the tongue. So those isosceles triangle, the isosceles triangle that you get with those three stars, can be used as a sort of guide to where Neptune is in the sky. And they're quite useful, actually, to locate it.
And the great thing is, of course, Neptune is such a slow mover. It has been near Phi Aquarii for years.
Yes, it has.
So once you've got it, once you know where that Phi Aquarii is, you're pretty much set for the next few years of being able to find Neptune quite easily.
Yeah. Okay, well, we've got a number of special items coming up. On the 12th of December, we've got the earliest sunset of the year. Are you going to be out watching that?
I might if I'm waiting for Mars and it's clear, yes. Otherwise, I shall note that we've marked the date.
Well, on the 14th, we've got the Geminid meteor shower, which is set to reach maximum. Now, that will reach maximum at an estimated 0050 UT, and that's quite exciting because the maximum time of a lot of these meteor showers shifts slightly from one year to the next.
Yeah.
And we always seem to get the maximum prediction for daylight hours. But this one is right in the middle of the night. And as we have a new moon, which I think is on that date as well,
we do.
Then if the skies are clear, fingers crossed, please, this should be pretty spectacular, because the Geminids meteor shower is the best meteor shower of the year.
Yes, because you do tend to get a lot of... It's the only meteor shower, Pete, I've actually had any luck with. The Perseids often never materialise for me, or it's cloudy. The Orionids or Leonids don't often materialise because it's been wet. But I've had a lot more luck with the Geminids. And as you say, this is quite a special opportunity because the moon is out of the way and the peak of the shower happens when Gemini's actually where the radiant is, quite high up. So it's all looking quite good.
It is indeed. The peak rate's been increasing over recent years, so it's probably somewhere, or the ZHR, that dreaded ZHR figure, is getting close to 140 to 150 meteors per hour. Now, the Perseids, which is often stated as the most favourable of the year, mainly because it's warm.
That's true.
Has got a ZHR of 110 meteors per hour. So the Geminids has got a higher rate. The radiant position, which is near the star Castor in Gemini, will be really high up in the middle of the night. The December nights are really long. For the Perseids, you've got, 3 or 4 hours of proper darkness.
Yeah, if that. Yeah.
Here, you've got probably 11 or so hours of proper darkness. So it's for real, stalwart astronomers that want to go out all night and watch the Geminids. But the meteors have got a good speed. They're good for photography, and you often get bright events as well. So I'm quite excited about this one. This should be pretty good.
Yeah, I think it'd be nice to do a proper meteor watch on this and get some. I should probably do a visual count and try and get some data on it. I'm quite looking forward to it. I always look forward to the Geminids, although it's cold and you sort of have to be out there in a sleeping bag. It's proper astronomy and well worth doing, and requires no special equipment.
No, that's right. Well, as you watch Jupiter and Saturn getting closer and closer, of course, the Great Conjunction is on the 21st, which we've already mentioned, then you should also note that the winter solstice, that's the time when the sun reaches its lowest position against the stars, or most southerly position against the stars in the sky, occurs on the 21st as well, at 13:30 UT. And after that, the sun will start to climb again. So
the nights will be getting shorter.
Yes, but it'll take a while before you actually see that. On the 23rd, if you go out and have a look at the moon around about quarter to midnight UT and look at that giant, it's described as a walled plain, isn't it, which is Clavius.
Yes, it is,
giant crater. You should be able to see the morning light spilling into the crater, and that illuminates the lips of the smaller craterlets inside. And there are two in particular that catch the early light, and they look like rings, and that creates a clair-obscure effect, which is known as the Eyes of Clavius.
So that's a nice one to watch out for. There's another Clara Obscura on the 24th, and the evening of the 24th is the turn of the jeweled angle Clara Obscura effect to be visible. And now I believe it's got its name because the illuminated arc of the Jura Mountains along the edge of the Sinus Iridum, extending into the lunar night, looks kind of like a jewel handle effect. I should say I have never seen it live. I've only ever seen it in images.
Really?
No,
it's a good one. It's a really good one. You can see it with binoculars, actually, because they're quite big, the Jura Mountains. The Sinus Iridum is that little semicircular bay off the northwest edge of Mare Imbrium. So, that's pretty good. And you can see that, you should be able to see that from about 19:30 UT on the evening of the 24th.
So 7:30 in the evening when it's be plenty of dark and cold. And the nights are now dark and cold with the December solstice occurring on the 21st. We should look out to the stars that are about. And of course, Orion the Hunter is approaching from the east. And I always think this is a nice time to catch Orion. And do you find this? You kind of think Orion's going to be around for a long time, but it actually disappears into the spring sky quite quickly. So now's a good time to start making the most of it before it disappears.
Well, it does. There's a tangible effect there because as the stars gradually drift to the west, so as we get towards the equinox at the end of March, the expansion of the evening twilight comes up to meet Orion. So it sort of gobbles up the constellation really quickly. So you're looking at it one moment and then it's gone.
Yes.
But the opposite occurs, of course, in the autumn, because you've got the stars which are there and the evening twilight recedes away from them. So you've got the ridiculous situation where you've got things like the summer triangle, which carry on right into November and December.
Yes.
And Pegasus lasts for ages as well, doesn't it?
It does.
It's the opposite effect.
Yes. Well, of course, nearby Orion, we have the constellation of Taurus, which is very, very nice, very pretty. It's marked by the bright orange star Aldebaran, which is the eye of the bull. And near to Aldebaran, we've got the Hyades open cluster.
Oh, yeah, the famous V.
And it does kind of look like a bull. I think it's one of those few constellations that does look vaguely like what it's supposed to.
Yeah, but you've got to realise that the bull isn't a full bull. It's the V
kind of a
on
head,
its side
isn't it?
is the head, with Aldebaran marking one eye of the bull, and the star at the other end of the arm of the V, so not at the point of the V, but at the other end of the V, the other end of that arm, the northern arm, is called Ain, which means eye. And it's often said that Aldebaran means eye of the bull, but it doesn't. That comes from an old description of it, Ocula Tauri, which is eye of the bull. But Aldebaran itself, I think, means follower, which is a reference to the fact that it follows the beautiful Pleiades cluster across the sky.
I see. Well, that would make more sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah, a bit.
Make a bit more sense. We do have some interesting objects in the constellation of Taurus. Perhaps the best known one is the Crab Nebula. This is the remains of a star, supermassive star that exploded in a supernova explosion in 1054 AD. I have to say, visually, I find the crab a very difficult object to observe.
It is quite tricky. It's if you use binoculars, I think you can just about make it out, but it is just a smudge.
Yeah.
And if you use a telescope, it doesn't get much more of a smudge until you get to a reasonable size aperture. And then you start to see that the smudge has got elongation to it, so it sort of looks a bit more elliptical. And you can start making out vague mottling within it, which are the sort of filamentary bits of the star exploding away from the central region. And of course, there's the Crab pulsar, which is in the middle.
Yeah, the centre of it.
The nebula, and that's quite an interesting star. It's a neutron star with hot spots on it that rotates. I think it's is it once every 33 times a second?
It's very quick. It's quite a quick spinner. Yes, yeah.
And as it goes round, the hot spots flash at the Earth. Now, the interesting thing is that if you use a stroboscopic camera, so a camera where you can adjust the frequency of the shutter and get the frequency to be the same or very close to the frequency of the pulsar, you can slow down the flashing of the pulsar. So it's like an interesting strobe effect when that occurs. I've always meant to do that, actually. I'd quite like to have a go at that. But
yeah, that's been an interesting thing to do. Or I would be interested to get a time sequence to try and show it, slow it down and show it spinning, show it pulsating on and off. That would be quite an interesting image if you could capture that.
Yeah, but it's something which you should be able to do with imaging cameras where you can adjust the frame rate. You should be able to get the frame rate approach the frequency of the crab, and they're certainly sensitive enough to be able to pick it up. So if I remember to do it, I'm going to do that this winter. That will be quite something to catch.
Yeah. We also have nearby to Taurus, we have the constellation of Auriga. It kind of looks like a squashed pentagon, but it's easily identified because we've got the bright yellow star Capella, and it is quite a prominent star. And if you scan through Auriga with binoculars, you'll see that there's a number of interesting open clusters, M36, M37, and M38. So there is quite a pretty selection of open clusters.
They're very nice, actually. They're probably best seen with binoculars. And M38, which is if I remember correctly, is the more northerly one, sits at the end of a smile. It's the smile of an asterism known as the Cheshire Cat.
Right.
And it's quite a strong asterism. There's a sort of curve of stars which represents the cat's smile, and then two stars above it which represents the cat's eyes, and it does stand out pretty well.
Right, I'll watch out for that then.
You sound doubtful.
No, it's just some asterisms you point out are really obvious. Some I have struggled with, but I think I've seen images.
The Cheshire Cat is strong. Yes, it's a very strong one.
Yeah.
Okay, well, before we sort of conclude, let's just... I want to wander back, actually, to the Pleiades, because I think they're worth a second visit. It's a magnificent open cluster, isn't it, the Pleiades?
It is. But personally, it doesn't seem to matter what telescope you use. Binoculars or the finder scope seems to give the best view because you can get the whole lot into the field.
That's definitely right. If you use a telescope, you're just looking through them, really, and you don't really see very much at all. I think the Pleiades were the first open cluster I drew properly. So and that shows the power of sketching and drawing, that you do get a connection with the object when you do that. But it's a gorgeous shape because you've got it's like a box with a handle. It looks like a sort of mini plough where somebody's...
It looks like a mini squashed Ursa Major is what it looks like to me.
Yeah, where someone's chopped off the handle. But there's that... What I really like about it is that faint sort of bent line of fainter stars that run under the eastern or the handle side of the Pleiades. They really stand out well when you're looking at it with binoculars. Yes,
the blue nebulosity that comes out very well in photography. I have struggled to see that. Now, I'm looking forward to trying to see it with my 12-inch reflector this winter because I didn't really get a chance to try this out last time. But I think the nebulosity can be quite difficult to see visually. But of course, it does come out very well in even a short exposure photograph.
Yes, it does. It comes out very well indeed. You can see it around a couple of the stars, actually. The Meteor star is probably the easiest one to see the nebulosity around. You don't tend to see the full extent of it permeating the entire cluster. So just look at it close to the brighter stars in there. But the Pleiades represents the shoulder of the charging bull Taurus. And north of the cluster is the constellation of Perseus, the Greek hero, the husband of Andromeda, the chained princess. And there's a complicated mythology around that region of the sky. There's lots of the constellations there are actually a part of that story. But Andromeda is like a wedge-shaped collection of stars which emanates out of the northeast corner of the great square of Pegasus. And Pegasus is an autumn constellation. So we've got that sort of bridge between autumn and winter there. But the thing which I really like, you were talking about binoculars with the Pleiades. One of the best binocular objects, in my opinion, is the one that lies between Perseus and his mother-in-law in the sky, Queen Cassiopeia.
Yes.
Now, Cassiopeia is a W. It looks exactly like a W in the sky. So between Cassiopeia and Perseus, if you scan it with binoculars, you see those two clusters which you just mentioned, the double cluster. Yeah. And they're gorgeous, aren't they?
They are, and if you've got a very wide field, low power telescope, you can eyepiece on your telescope, you can get them all in. But as I often said, they look like grains of sugar spilt on a black velvet cushion.
I'm sure I copyrighted that description, and you've taken it.
No, you like it, but that doesn't make it yours, Pete.
I think it looks more like diamonds sprinkled onto black velvet. But there you go.
Yeah, well, you were.
But it's a glorious sight anyway. So there's plenty to go out and have a look at. Lots going on in the solar system. Lots going on in the deep sky environment. So all that remains for us to say is enjoy the sky. Have a fantastic Christmas, and we'll see you in the new year.
Indeed. Good Happy New Year to everybody. Thanks, Pete.
Thanks, Paul.